Maya Thompson stood in front of the small bathroom mirror in their old trailer home. She was 17 years old, with long dark hair and bright green eyes that looked tired from too many sleepless nights. Her reflection stared back at her and she could see the worry lines on her young face, lines that should not be there on someone so young. The trailer was quiet except for the soft sound of her mother's breathing, coming from the tiny bedroom next door. Maya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She had to be strong. She had to find a way to save her mother's life. It was early morning, around 5:30. Maya had to leave for work in an hour. She worked at a small diner called Rosie's on the edge of town. The pay was not good, but the tips helped. Every dollar counted now. Every single penny mattered more than it ever had before. Maya walked into the kitchen and put the kettle on the old stove. The kitchen was small and cramped. The counters were covered with papers, bills, medical bills. Each one had angry red stamps on them. Past due. Final notice. Urgent. The words screamed at her every time she looked at them. She picked up one of the bills and read it again, even though she had memorized the number. $48,000. That was just for the hospital stays. There were more bills for the medicines, the tests, the doctor visits. Altogether, they needed at least $50,000, maybe more. $50,000 might as well have been $50 million. Maya made about $300 a week at the diner. Sometimes $400 if she was lucky with tips. After paying for food, electricity, and the trailer rent, there was almost nothing left. She had been saving every penny she could for 6 months now. She had exactly $2,342 in a coffee can hidden under her bed. It was not nearly enough. The kettle whistled. Maya made 2 cups of weak tea. They had to make the tea bags last, so she used each one 3 times before throwing it away. She added a tiny bit of sugar to her mother's cup. Sugar was expensive, but her mother needed something sweet, something to give her a bit of joy. Maya carried the cup into the bedroom. Her mother, Susan, lay in the narrow bed, her face pale against the worn pillows. She was only 40 years old, but she looked much older now. Sickness had stolen her youth. Her blonde hair, once shiny and thick, now lay thin and dull across the pillow. Her cheeks were hollow. Her hands, resting on top of the faded blanket, looked like bird bones. "Good morning, Mama," Maya said softly. She set the cup on the small table beside the bed and helped her mother sit up. Susan smiled weakly. "Good morning, baby. You are up early again." "I have the morning shift today," Maya said. She fluffed the pillows behind her mother's back. "How are you feeling?" "I am okay," Susan said. But Maya could hear the lie in her voice. Her mother's breathing was shallow and quick. There was a blue tint to her lips that had not been there last week. The doctors had said her heart was failing. Without surgery, she had maybe 3 months. Maybe less. The surgery cost $50,000. The hospital would not do it without payment. They had no insurance. They had nothing. Maya helped her mother drink the tea. Susan's hands shook as she held the cup. When she was finished, Maya tucked her back into bed. "I will be home around 2, Maya said. "Mrs. Chen from next door will check on you at noon. I left your medicine on the counter with a note." "You work too hard," Susan whispered. Her eyes were full of sadness. "You should be in school. You should be with friends. Having fun. Not taking care of me." Maya felt her throat tighten. She bent down and kissed her mother's forehead. "There is nowhere else I want to be. You rest now. I love you." "I love you too, baby," Susan said. "More than you will ever know." Maya left the room quickly before her mother could see the tears in her eyes. She grabbed her old backpack and the house keys. She looked at the pile of bills one more time before she left. The numbers swam in front of her eyes. Impossible. It was all impossible. The walk to the diner took 20 minutes. Maya walked fast, her hands shoved deep in her jacket pockets. It was late September and the mornings were getting cold. She could not afford to buy a new jacket, so she wore the same one she had worn for 3 years. It was too small now and the zipper was broken, but it would have to do. Rosie's Diner sat on the corner of Main Street and 5th Avenue. It was an old building with faded red paint and a flickering neon sign that said "Open." Maya pushed through the door, and the little bell above it rang. "Morning, Maya," called Rosie from behind the counter. Rosie was a large woman in her 60s with gray hair and a kind face. She had owned the diner for 30 years. "Morning, Rosie," Maya said. She tied her apron around her waist and grabbed her order pad. The morning rush was busy. Truck drivers, construction workers, and early commuters filled the booths and counter stools. Maya poured coffee, took orders, delivered plates of eggs and bacon and pancakes. She smiled at customers and made small talk, but her mind was far away, always on her mother, always on those bills. Around 10 o'clock, the rush died down. Maya was wiping down tables when her best friend Carlos came in through the back door. Carlos worked in the kitchen. He was 19, tall and thin, with dark curly hair and warm brown eyes. He had been Maya's friend since middle school. He was the only person who knew how bad things really were. "Hey," Carlos said. He walked over to where Maya was cleaning. "You look tired." "I am always tired," Maya said. She tried to smile, but it did not reach her eyes. Carlos pulled something from his back pocket, a piece of paper folded in half. "I saw this posted at the community center this morning. I thought of you right away." Maya took the paper and unfolded it. It was a bright yellow flyer. At the top, in big bold letters, it said, "Stars of Tomorrow Talent Competition." Maya scanned the page. It was a singing competition. Open auditions next week, 5 rounds of performances. The winner would be chosen by 3 celebrity judges. And at the bottom in red letters was the prize amount, $50,000. Maya's heart stopped. She read it again, $50,000, the exact amount they needed. Maybe this was a sign. Maybe this was the answer to her prayers. "I know you can sing," Carlos said quietly. "I have heard you. You have an amazing voice, Maya. You could win this." Maya shook her head. "I have never performed in front of people before. I just sing to my mother." "That is different." "You sing to me sometimes," Carlos pointed out. "And you made me cry that one time you sang that song about the bird." Maya looked at the flyer again. Auditions were in 5 days. The competition would run for 6 weeks. If she made it to the final round, the winner would be announced on November 1st. That would be just in time, just before her mother ran out of time. But what if she was not good enough? What if she got up on that stage and forgot the words? What if people laughed at her? What if she failed and her mother died because she was not brave enough or talented enough? "I do not know," Maya said. Her voice was small. "What if I am not good enough?" Carlos put his hand on her shoulder. "What if you are? Maya, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Your mom needs this, and maybe you need this too. To do something just for you. To show the world what you can do." Maya folded the flyer carefully and put it in her apron pocket. "I will think about it." "Do not think too long," Carlos said. "The auditions are on Friday." The rest of the day passed in a blur. Maya could not stop thinking about the competition. The flyer felt like it was burning a hole in her pocket. $50,000. It could save her mother's life. It could give them a future. When her shift ended at 2, Maya walked home slowly. She took the long way past the park and the library. She needed time to think, time to decide. Singing on a stage in front of hundreds of people, maybe thousands, terrified her. She was shy. She liked to be invisible. She did not want attention or fame. She just wanted her mother to be healthy. She wanted them to be okay. But maybe this was the only way. Maybe God or the universe or whatever was out there was giving her a chance, one chance to save the person she loved most in the world. When Maya got home, Mrs. Chen was just leaving. Mrs. Chen was their neighbor, a tiny old woman who spoke very little English. But she was kind and she checked on Susan every day while Maya was at work. "Your mom asleep now," Mrs. Chen said. "She eat little bit of soup?" "Good girl, she is strong." "Thank you, Mrs. Chen," Maya said. She waited until the old woman had gone back to her own trailer before going inside. The trailer was quiet. Maya looked in on her mother. Susan was sleeping, her chest rising and falling in slow, shallow breaths. Maya stood in the doorway and watched her. This woman had given up everything for her, had worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over their heads, had loved her fiercely even when things were hard. Even when they had nothing, Maya would do anything to save her. Anything. She pulled the yellow flyer out of her pocket and smoothed it flat on the kitchen counter. She read every word carefully. The auditions were open to anyone between the ages of 15 and 25. Contestants had to prepare 1 song, any genre. No backing tracks allowed for the first audition. Just the voice. Maya knew what song she would sing. There was only one song that meant everything to her. The lullaby her mother used to sing to her every night when she was little. The one Susan still hummed sometimes when she thought Maya was not listening. It was a sad song, beautiful and haunting. Her mother had told her once that the song came from Maya's father, that he had written it for them. But Susan never talked about Maya's father, never said his name, never explained why he was not with them. Maya only knew a few things about her father. He had been a musician. He had loved her mother, and then he had left before Maya was born and he never came back. Maya had stopped asking about him years ago. It hurt her mother too much to talk about it. And besides, it did not matter. He was not here. He had never been here. It was just Maya and Susan against the world. It always had been. Maya picked up a pen and filled out the application on the back of the flyer. Name, age, contact information, song choice. She wrote it all down in her careful handwriting. At the bottom, there was a line that asked why she wanted to compete. Maya stared at that line for a long time. Then she wrote, "I am singing to save my mother's life." She folded the application, put it in an envelope, and sealed it. Tomorrow she would mail it to the address on the flyer. Tomorrow she would take the first step toward either saving her mother or failing her completely. That night, after she had made dinner and helped her mother eat a few bites, after she had given her the evening medicines and tucked her into bed, Maya sat on the floor of the tiny bathroom and practiced the lullaby. She sang quietly, not wanting to wake her mother. The words came easily. She had sung this song 1,000 times. It was part of her, woven into her bones and blood. But in the bedroom, Susan was not sleeping. She lay in the darkness listening to her daughter sing, and as she listened, tears ran down her face, because she recognized that melody. She remembered the man who had written it, the man with the kind eyes and gentle hands who had played it for her on his guitar under the stars 18 years ago. The man who had promised to love her forever and then disappeared, Richard. His name was Richard Sterling. Susan had not spoken that name out loud in 17 years. She had tried to find him when she learned she was pregnant, had called his old phone number but it was disconnected, had written letters to the address he had given her, but they all came back marked "Return to Sender." He had vanished like smoke, and Susan had been left alone with a baby on the way, and no money and no family to help her. She had been angry at first, then heartbroken, then eventually she had accepted it. He did not want them. He had moved on. Maybe he had never really loved her at all, but she had kept the song, had sung it to Maya every night, had hummed it when she was sad or scared or lonely. It was all she had left of him. And now, listening to her daughter sing it, Susan felt the old pain rise up fresh and sharp in her chest. Maya had his voice, that same clear, pure tone, that same ability to pour emotion into every note. She was talented, so talented. If Richard could hear her now, he would be amazed. He would be proud, but he would never hear her. He did not even know she existed. Susan closed her eyes and let the tears come. She thought about all the years that had passed, all the birthdays and Christmases and first days of school that Richard had missed, all the times Maya had asked about her father, and Susan had changed the subject, all the lies she had told to protect her daughter from the pain of rejection. And now Maya was going to sing that song in front of judges and audiences. She was going to put herself out there, expose her heart and her talent to the world, all to save her mother's life. Susan felt a wave of love so strong it almost hurt. Her beautiful, brave daughter. Her Maya. The best thing that had ever happened to her. In the bathroom, Maya finished the song. She sat in silence for a moment, her eyes closed, her hands clasped together. Then she whispered a prayer. "Please, please let me be good enough. Please let me save her. I will do anything. Just please do not take her from me. Not yet, please." The next morning, Maya mailed the application. The post office was 2 miles away, and she walked the whole way. When she dropped the envelope into the blue mailbox, she felt her stomach twist with nerves and hope and fear. 3 days later, she got a call. A woman with a cheerful voice told her that her application had been accepted. Her audition was scheduled for Friday, October 3rd at 10 in the morning. She should arrive at the Civic Center downtown at 9:30 to check in. She would be given a number. When her number was called, she would have 3 minutes to perform. "Good luck, honey," the woman said before hanging up. "We cannot wait to hear you sing." Maya stood in the kitchen, holding the phone, her heart racing. This was really happening. She was really going to do this. She walked into the bedroom where her mother was resting. Susan looked up when Maya entered, and Maya saw the hope in her eyes. The fear, the love, "Mama, Maya said. She sat on the edge of the bed and took her mother's thin hand. I need to tell you something. And she told her about the competition, about the $50,000 prize, about her audition on Friday. Susan listened without speaking. When Maya finished, Susan squeezed her hand weakly. You do not have to do this, Susan whispered. I do not want you to feel like you have to save me. That is too much pressure, baby. Too much weight for you to carry. I want to do it, Maya said firmly. Not just for you. For me too. I want to try. I want to see if I am brave enough. Susan looked at her daughter for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small, sad smile, but it was real. You are the bravest person I know, Susan said. And you are going to be amazing. I know it. That night, Maya practiced the lullaby over and over until her voice was tired. Carlos came by after his shift and listened to her practice. He cheered when she finished and told her she was going to win the whole thing. Maya wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that she could do this, that she could stand on that stage and sing from her heart and win the money that would save her mother's life. But deep down, she was terrified. Terrified that she was not good enough. Terrified that she would fail. Terrified that time was running out and this was their last chance. Friday morning arrived too quickly. Maya woke up at 6 even though her audition was not until 10. She could not sleep. Her stomach was tied in knots. She felt sick with nervousness. She made tea and toast, but she could not eat. Her mother was too weak to get out of bed, but she was awake and alert. Come here, Susan said. Maya sat beside her on the bed. Susan reached up and touched her daughter's face with trembling fingers. Listen to me, Maya. No matter what happens today, I am proud of you. You hear me? So proud. You are my whole world, my whole heart. And you are going to go out there and show them what you can do. You are going to sing that song and everyone will see what I see. How special you are. How bright your light shines. Maya felt tears spill down her cheeks. I am scared, Mama. I know, baby. But courage is not about not being scared. It is about being scared and doing it anyway. You can do this. I believe in you. Maya hugged her mother carefully, afraid of hurting her. Susan felt so fragile, like she might break. At 9 o'clock, Carlos arrived to drive Maya to the Civic Center. He had borrowed his uncle's car for the day. Maya kissed her mother goodbye and promised to tell her everything when she got home. The drive downtown took 30 minutes. Maya sat in the passenger seat, her hands clenched in her lap, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. When they arrived at the Civic Center, Maya saw the long line of people waiting to check in, young people with guitars and keyboards, girls in sparkly dresses, boys in suits. Everyone looked so confident, so prepared, so talented. Maya looked down at her own outfit. She wore her best dress, a simple blue cotton dress that she had bought at a thrift store 2 years ago. Her shoes were old white sneakers. She had no fancy jewelry, no professional styling. She was just Maya, plain ordinary Maya from the trailer park. You got this, Carlos said, squeezing her shoulder. Just remember why you are here. Sing for your mom. Sing from your heart. That is all you need to do. Maya nodded. She got out of the car and joined the line. When she reached the check-in table, a woman handed her a sticker with a number on it, number 73. Maya took the sticker and found a seat in the large waiting area. All around her, people were warming up their voices, practicing scales, talking excitedly with their friends and families. Maya sat alone, silent, her hands folded in her lap. She closed her eyes and thought of her mother. Thought of all the nights Susan had stayed up late, working double shifts, coming home exhausted but still finding the energy to help Maya with her homework. Thought of all the times her mother had gone without so Maya could have what she needed. The sacrifices, the love. The endless, unconditional love. Maya was going to do this. She was going to walk onto that stage and sing her heart out. For her mother. For their future. For both of them. The waiting room at the Civic Center was loud and chaotic. Maya sat in a plastic chair near the back, watching the other contestants. A girl with bright pink hair was doing vocal exercises, her voice going up and down in scales that sounded perfect. A boy with a guitar was strumming complicated chords that Maya could never hope to play. Everyone seemed so professional, so ready, so sure of themselves. Maya touched the number sticker on her chest, 73. She wondered how many people were ahead of her, how long she would have to wait and worry and feel sick with nerves. A woman with a clipboard walked through the waiting area. Numbers 1 through 10, please follow me to the backstage area. You will be called in order. When you hear your number, walk onto the stage. You will have 3 minutes. Good luck, everyone. The first 10 contestants stood up and followed the woman through a door. Maya watched them go. She had at least an hour to wait. Maybe more. That felt like torture, sitting here with nothing to do but think about all the ways she could fail. She pulled out her phone and sent a text to Carlos. He was waiting in the car outside because the waiting area was only for contestants. Her message was simple. Still waiting? Number 73, Carlos replied immediately. You are going to be amazing. Remember, sing for your mom. I believe in you. Maya smiled a little. Carlos always knew the right thing to say. Time moved slowly. Every 15 minutes or so, another group of 10 contestants was called backstage. Maya watched them go, her stomach getting tighter and tighter with each announcement. Finally, after what felt like forever, the woman with the clipboard called out, Numbers 70 through 80, please come with me. Maya stood up on shaky legs. Her hands were sweating. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might burst out of her chest. She followed the woman through the door with 9 other contestants. Backstage was dim and crowded. Stage crew members rushed around with equipment. Contestants from earlier rounds sat in chairs, some looking happy, others looking crushed. Maya tried not to look at the sad faces. She did not want to think about rejection right now. The woman with the clipboard lined them up in number order. Maya was 4th in line. She could hear music coming from the stage. Someone was singing a pop song, their voice bright and strong. The audience clapped when the song ended. Number 70, you are up, the woman said. A tall boy with bleached blonde hair walked onto the stage. Maya could not see what was happening, but she could hear everything. The boy introduced himself. His name was Tyler. He started singing a rock song. His voice was good, loud, and powerful. When he finished, the judges said some things that Maya could not quite hear. Then Tyler walked off the stage. He looked happy. That was a good sign. Number 71. A girl in a red dress walked out. She sang an opera song. Her voice was incredible, hitting notes so high and pure that Maya felt goosebumps on her arms. When the girl finished, the audience went crazy with applause. Maya's heart sank. How could she compete with that? How could her simple lullaby compare to something so amazing? Number 72. Another contestant left. Maya was next. She was going to be next. She felt like she might throw up. She closed her eyes and took deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth, just like her mother had taught her when she was little and got scared. Breathing helped. It slowed her racing heart just a little bit. Number 73. Maya opened her eyes. The woman was looking at her, waiting. This was it. This was the moment that could change everything. Maya walked toward the stage. Her legs felt like jelly. The bright lights hit her as she stepped out from behind the curtain. She had to stop for a second to let her eyes adjust. When they did, she saw the massive auditorium stretching out in front of her. Hundreds of seats. Most of them were empty because this was just the first round of auditions, but there were still at least 100 people scattered throughout the room. Families of contestants, staff members, and at the front, behind a long table, sat the 3 judges. Maya had seen their faces on the flyer. On the left was Jennifer Hayes, a famous pop singer with red hair and a kind smile. In the middle was Marcus Chen, a hip-hop artist and producer who had won multiple awards. And on the right was Richard Sterling. Maya had heard of Richard Sterling. Everyone had. He was a legend in the music industry, a self-made millionaire who had started with nothing and built an empire. He owned record labels, music venues, and production companies. He discovered new talent and turned them into stars. He was tough but fair, according to the articles Maya had read online while researching the competition. He did not give fake compliments. If he said you were good, you were really good. Richard Sterling sat at the judges' table now, looking down at some papers in front of him. He was older than Maya had expected, maybe in his 50s, with gray hair at his temples and lines around his eyes. He wore an expensive-looking suit and a serious expression. Maya walked to the center of the stage. There was a mark on the floor, a piece of tape in the shape of an X. She stood on it and faced the judges. "Hello," Jennifer Hayes said warmly. "What is your name, sweetheart?" Maya's mouth was dry. She swallowed hard. "Maya Thompson." "And how old are you, Maya?" 17. "Great, and what are you going to sing for us today?" Maya took another breath. "I am going to sing a lullaby. It does not have a title. My mother used to sing it to me when I was little. Jennifer smiled. That sounds lovely. And is there a special reason you are here today? Why did you decide to audition? Maya hesitated. She had not planned to talk about her mother. She had thought she would just sing and leave. But something about Jennifer's kind face made her want to tell the truth. My mother is very sick, Maya said. Her voice was quiet but steady. She needs surgery. An expensive surgery. We do not have the money. So I am here because the prize money could save her life. I am singing for her. The auditorium went completely silent. Maya saw Jennifer's expression soften. Marcus Chen leaned forward with interest. And Richard Sterling, who had been looking at his papers, suddenly looked up. His eyes locked onto Maya's face, and she saw something in them. Something she could not quite name. Surprise, recognition, concern? That is very brave of you, Jennifer said gently. We are honored that you chose to share your voice with us today. Whenever you are ready, you can begin. Maya nodded. She clasped her hands in front of her and closed her eyes for just a second. She thought of her mother, thought of Susan lying in that narrow bed in the trailer, weak and pale and fighting so hard to stay alive. Thought of all the love Susan had given her, all the sacrifices, all the years of putting Maya first. Maya opened her eyes and began to sing. The lullaby started soft and low. The melody was simple but haunting. Maya's voice, though quiet at first, carried perfectly in the silent auditorium. She sang about moonlight and starlight, about a love that never dies, about holding on even when everything seems lost. As she sang, Maya forgot about the judges, forgot about the audience, forgot about being nervous. She was back in the trailer, sitting on the edge of her mother's bed, singing this song the way she had sung it 100 times before, with love, with hope, with all the emotion in her young heart. Her voice grew stronger as the song went on. She hit the high notes easily, her tone pure and clear. The sadness in the lyrics came through in every word. This was not just a performance. This was real. This was her life, her pain, her love for her mother. When Maya reached the final verse, tears ran down her face. She did not try to hide them. She sang through them, her voice never wavering. The last note hung in the air for a long moment before fading to silence. The auditorium was completely still. Maya opened her eyes, suddenly aware again of where she was. She looked at the judges, afraid of what she would see on their faces. Jennifer Hayes had tears streaming down her cheeks. She was holding her hand over her heart. Marcus Chen was staring at Maya with his mouth slightly open, looking stunned. And Richard Sterling was frozen in his seat, his face pale, his hands gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles were white. Richard could not breathe, could not think, could not process what he had just heard, that song, that melody. He knew that song. He had written that song. 18 years ago he had sat under the stars with a guitar in his hands and a woman he loved beside him, and he had written that exact song. For her, for Susan, it had been his gift to her, his way of telling her how much she meant to him, how much he loved her. And now this girl, this 17-year-old girl with green eyes and dark hair, was standing on this stage singing his song, the song that no one else in the world should know. The song he had never recorded or published or shared with anyone except Susan. Richard's mind raced. 17 years old. The math fit. The timeline matched. He stared at Maya's face under the stage lights, really looking at her for the first time. Those eyes. He knew those eyes. They were Susan's eyes. That same green color, that same shape. And the way she tilted her head when she sang. The way she phrased the melody. It was exactly how he would have done it. No, it could not be. It was impossible. But even as his mind tried to reject it, his heart knew the truth. This girl was his daughter. His and Susan's daughter. The daughter he never knew existed. Her legs were shaking so badly she almost tripped on the stairs. But she had done it. She had actually done it. She had sung in front of the judges, and they had not laughed at her. They had said she was good. They had said she had talent. Maya walked backstage in a daze. The woman with the clipboard pointed her toward the exit. Maya walked through the door and found herself back in the main lobby of the Civic Center. Carlos was waiting for her, pacing back and forth. When he saw her, he rushed over. How did it go? Carlos asked. Tell me everything, I sang, Maya said. She felt like she was floating. I got through the whole song. And they said I was good. They said I have talent. Carlos grabbed her in a big hug, lifting her off her feet. I told you. I told you that you were amazing. Did they say anything else? Do you think you will make it to the next round? They said they will let me know tomorrow, Maya said. I do not know if that means I passed or not. But at least I tried. At least I did it. They walked out to the car together. Maya looked back at the Civic Center one time before they drove away. Somewhere in that building, the judges were deciding her fate, deciding whether she would get a chance to save her mother or whether this was the end of the road. All she could do now was wait, and hope, and pray. Inside the auditorium, Richard sat at the judges' table long after the other contestants had finished their auditions. Jennifer and Marcus had left to take a break, but Richard stayed. He stared at the empty stage where Maya had stood, where his daughter had stood. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and opened his contacts. He scrolled through hundreds of names until he found the one he was looking for. A private investigator he had used for business matters in the past. Someone discreet, someone who could find information quickly and quietly. Richard typed out a message. I need you to find someone. Susan Thompson. Last known location was probably this city 18 years ago. She would be around 40 years old now. I need to know where she is, what her situation is, and anything else you can find. This is urgent. Money is no object. He hit send and then sat back in his chair. His hands were still shaking. His whole body felt like it was vibrating with shock and emotion. He had a daughter, a beautiful, talented daughter who had grown up without him, a daughter who was singing to save her mother's life. His Susan, the woman he had loved and lost. She was sick, dying if what Maya had said was true. She needed expensive surgery and they had no money. Richard thought about his own life. The mansion he lived in, the cars in his garage, the millions of dollars sitting in his bank accounts. More money than he could ever spend. And all this time, Susan and Maya had been struggling. Living in poverty, fighting to survive. The guilt was overwhelming. But underneath the guilt was something else. Something fierce and protective. He had missed 17 years of his daughter's life. He could not change that. But he could change what happened next. He could make sure Maya and Susan were taken care of. He could make sure they never worried about money again. He could finally, after all these years, do the right thing. But first he needed to know more, needed to understand the full situation, and he needed to figure out how to tell Maya the truth without destroying her in the process. Richard's phone buzzed. A message from the investigator. On it, we'll have preliminary information within 24 hours. Richard put his phone away and stood up. His legs felt weak. He walked out of the auditorium and went to his office in the Civic Center. It was a small room, just a desk and a chair, but it was private. He closed the door and sank into the chair. He pulled open a drawer and took out an old photograph. It was faded and worn at the edges because he had looked at it so many times over the years. The photo showed a young man and a young woman sitting on a beach at sunset. They were laughing, their arms around each other. The woman was beautiful, with long blonde hair and bright green eyes. The man was Richard, 18 years younger, with hope and dreams in his eyes. That photo had been taken the summer he met Susan, the summer that changed his life. He had kept this picture all these years, even though it hurt to look at it, even though it reminded him of everything he had lost. Richard stared at Susan's face in the photograph. I found her, he whispered to the image. Our daughter. She is beautiful, Susan. She is so talented. She has your eyes and my voice, and she is braver than both of us ever were. Tears finally spilled down his cheeks. Richard let them fall. He had not cried in years, had trained himself to be tough and unemotional in business. But this was not business. This was his daughter, his family, the family he never knew he had. Tomorrow, Richard would make a decision about Maya's audition. But he already knew what that decision would be. She was going through to the next round. Not because she was his daughter, though that fact made him want to give her everything, but because she truly had talent, because her voice was exceptional, because she deserved a chance, and Richard was going to make sure she got more than just a chance. He was going to make sure she won. He was going to make sure she got that $50,000, and then he was going to give her and Susan so much more. He was going to give them the life they should have had all along. The life he should have been there to provide, but he had to be careful. He could not just throw money at them. He could not reveal himself too soon. Maya and Susan had managed without him for 17 years. They might not want him in their lives now. They might hate him for abandoning them. even if it had not been intentional. He had to approach this carefully, had to earn their trust, had to prove that he was worthy of being part of their family. Richard wiped his eyes and took a deep breath. He had built a business empire from nothing. He had overcome countless obstacles. He had succeeded in everything he had ever tried to do, and now he had a new mission, the most important mission of his life. He was going to save Susan. He was going to help Maya, and he was going to find a way to be the father he should have been from the beginning, even if it took everything he had. Even if they never forgave him, he was going to make this right. Meanwhile, Maya sat in the passenger seat of Carlos's car, staring out the window as they drove home. She felt strange, disconnected from reality, like the audition had happened to someone else and she had just watched it happen. "Do you think I have a chance?" she asked Carlos quietly. Carlos glanced at her. "Are you kidding? You're definitely going to the next round. I would bet money on it." "Did you see the judges' faces?" "They were crying, Maya. You moved them." That is what matters. Maya wanted to believe him, but she had seen all those other talented people. The girl with the opera voice, the boy with the guitar. Everyone had been so good. What made her special? That one judge, Maya said. The older man, Richard Sterling. He asked me about the song, about where I learned it. What did you tell him? The truth. That my mother taught it to me. That my father wrote it. Maya frowned, thinking back to that moment. He looked strange when I said that. Like I had surprised him or upset him or something. I do not know. It was weird, Carlos shrugged. Maybe he just thought the song was really good. Maybe he wanted to know if it was original or a cover. Maybe, Maya said, but something about the way Richard Sterling had looked at her bothered her. Those eyes, they had been so intense, so full of some emotion she could not name. She shook her head. It did not matter. She had done her best. That was all she could do. When they got back to the trailer park, Maya thanked Carlos and hurried inside. Her mother was awake, propped up on pillows, waiting. "How did it go?" Susan asked. Her voice was weak but eager. Maya sat on the edge of the bed and told her mother everything. About the judges. About the other contestants. About singing the lullaby and how everyone had been silent when she finished. "They said I was good, Mama," Maya said. Tears filled her eyes. "They said I have talent. They said I moved them." Susan reached out and took Maya's hand. "Of course you moved them. You have a gift, baby. A beautiful gift." "They're going to tell me tomorrow if I made it to the next round," Maya continued. "I do not know if I will. There were so many talented people there, but at least I tried." "You did more than try," Susan said. "You were brave. You faced your fear and you did it anyway. I am so proud of you. So very proud." They sat together in comfortable silence for a while. Then Maya remembered something. "One of the judges asked about the song," Maya said. "He wanted to know where I learned it. When I told him it came from my father, he looked surprised. Like he recognized it or something." Susan's expression changed. The color drained from her already pale face. "Which judge?" she asked, her voice tight. "Richard Sterling, the music mogul. Do you know him?" Susan closed her eyes. Her hand tightened around Maya's. "No," she whispered. "I do not know him." But Maya could tell her mother was lying. Something about that name had affected her, had scared her. Maya wanted to ask more questions, but her mother suddenly looked exhausted. She looked like talking was too much effort. "You should rest, Mama," Maya said gently. "I will make us some dinner." Susan nodded. She lay back against the pillows and closed her eyes. But her mind was racing. Her heart was pounding despite the medication that was supposed to keep it steady. Richard Sterling. After all these years, after all the silence, he was here, in this city. He had heard Maya sing. The next morning, Maya woke up early. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw herself on that stage. She heard her voice singing the lullaby. She saw the judges' faces, especially Richard Sterling's face. Those eyes that had looked at her with such intensity. She made breakfast for her mother. Just toast and weak tea. It was all they could afford until Maya got paid again on Friday. She brought the tray into the bedroom and helped her mother sit up. Susan looked terrible. Her skin was gray. Her lips had that blue tint again. Her breathing was shallow and labored. Maya felt fear grip her heart. "Mama, are you okay?" Maya asked. "I am fine," Susan said, but her voice was barely a whisper. "Just tired?" Maya did not believe her. But what could she do? They had no money for a doctor, no insurance, no options. All they could do was wait and hope that Maya would win the competition. Hope that they would get the money in time. The judges said they would call today, Maya said, to tell me if I made it to the next round. Susan nodded. She tried to smile. You will make it. I know you will. Maya helped her mother eat a few bites of toast. Then Susan fell back asleep. Maya sat beside her, watching her breathe. Each breath seemed harder than the last. Maya felt helpless, useless. She hated this feeling. She went into the kitchen and washed the dishes. She cleaned the small living area. She did laundry in the old washing machine that barely worked. Anything to keep busy. Anything to keep from thinking about how sick her mother was. How little time they might have left. At 11 o'clock, Maya's phone rang. She jumped, nearly dropping the phone in her rush to answer it. Hello? Is this Maya Thompson? A woman's voice asked. Yes, this is Maya. This is Diane from the Stars of Tomorrow competition. I am calling with news about your audition. Maya's heart stopped. This was it. This was the moment she found out if she had a chance or if it was all over. The judges were very impressed with your performance, Diane continued. You have been selected to move forward to round 2. Congratulations, Maya. Maya could not speak. She just stood there holding the phone, tears streaming down her face. Maya, are you there? Yes, Maya managed to say. Yes, I am here. Thank you. Thank you so much, Diane explained the details. Round 2 would be held next Friday. This time, Maya would need to prepare 2 songs. 1 fast song and 1 slow song. The judges would choose which one she sang. There would be a backing band available, or she could sing without music if she preferred. The round would be performed in front of a live audience. Tickets were being sold to the public. We will email you all the information, Diane said. We look forward to seeing you next week. Good luck, Maya. When the call ended, Maya stood in the kitchen, shaking. She had done it. She had made it through the first round. She was 1 step closer to the prize money, 1 step closer to saving her mother. She rushed into the bedroom. Mama, wake up, I made it. I am through to the next round. Susan opened her eyes. When she saw Maya's joyful face, she smiled. A real smile. I knew you would, baby. I knew it, they hugged carefully. Maya could feel her mother's bones through her thin nightgown. She could feel how weak she was. But she could also feel her mother's love, her pride, her hope. 2 more songs, Maya said. I need to pick 2 more songs to practice. 1 fast and 1 slow. Sing what you feel, Susan said. Sing from your heart. That is what touched them the first time. Do not try to be something you are not. Just be you. Maya nodded. She spent the rest of the day thinking about songs. She did not know many modern pop songs. She did not listen to the radio much. But she knew old songs. Songs her mother had taught her. Folk songs and ballads and simple melodies that told stories. For her slow song, she chose an old folk ballad about a woman waiting for her lover to return from the sea. It was sad and beautiful. For her fast song, she picked a more upbeat folk tune about dancing in the spring. It was still simple, still acoustic, but it had more energy, more life. Maya practiced all week. She sang while doing dishes, while walking to work, while sitting with her mother. Carlos listened to her practice during their breaks at the diner and gave her feedback. He was not a musician, but he had good instincts about what sounded good. The fast song needs more energy, he said one day. You are singing it well, but you need to move more. Smile more. Make people feel the joy of spring and dancing. Right now you look like you are at a funeral. Maya laughed. He was right. She was so nervous about the competition that she forgot to show emotion in the happy song. She tried again, this time letting herself move to the rhythm. Letting herself smile. It felt strange at first, but then it felt good. Natural. Much better, Carlos said. You looked like you were actually having fun. Maya realized she was having fun. For the first time in months, she felt something other than worry and fear. Music was giving her that. Music was reminding her that there was beauty in the world. Joy. Hope. Meanwhile, across the city, Richard Sterling sat in his large office at his downtown headquarters. On his desk was a file folder. A thick file folder that his private investigator had delivered that morning. The tab on the folder read Susan Thompson. Richard had been staring at the folder for an hour. He had not opened it yet. He was afraid of what he would find inside, afraid of the truth. Finally, he took a deep breath and opened the folder. The first page was a summary. Susan Thompson, age 40. Current address: Shady Pines Trailer Park, space number 12. Employed as a part-time cashier at a convenience store until 6 months ago, when she became too ill to work. Diagnosis: congestive heart failure requiring immediate surgical intervention. Estimated cost of surgery: $50,000. No insurance. No savings. Daughter: Maya Thompson, age 17. No record of father on birth certificate. Richard felt his chest tighten. The words blurred in front of his eyes. Congestive heart failure. No insurance. No savings. He kept reading. The investigator had done thorough work. There were photographs, pictures of the trailer where Susan and Maya lived. It was small and old and looked like it might fall apart in a strong wind. There were pictures of Maya leaving for work at Rosie's diner. She wore an old jacket and worn-out shoes. She looked tired. Too tired for someone so young. There was a photo of Susan. Someone had taken it through a window. Susan sat in a chair, an oxygen tube in her nose. She looked nothing like the vibrant young woman Richard remembered. This Susan was thin and frail and gray, dying. Richard closed the folder. He put his head in his hands. This was his fault, all of it. If he had tried harder to find Susan 18 years ago, if he had not trusted his assistant to handle his personal mail and calls, if he had gone back to look for her in person, instead of just assuming she had moved on. But he had been so focused on his career, so obsessed with success. He had told himself that Susan would be fine without him, that she was better off, that he would only hold her back. What a fool he had been. What a selfish, stupid fool. Richard picked up his phone and called his lawyer. "David, I need you to do something for me, immediately." "Of course, Richard. What do you need?" "I need you to arrange payment for a medical procedure. Congestive heart failure surgery. The patient's name is Susan Thompson. I want you to contact the hospital, find out where she is being treated, and pay for everything. The surgery, the hospital stay, all medications, all follow-up care. Everything." There was a pause. "How much are we talking about?" "I do not care. Whatever it costs. And David, this needs to be done anonymously. She cannot know the money came from me. Tell the hospital it is coming from a charitable foundation or something. Make up a name. Just make sure she gets the treatment she needs." "Understood. I will handle it today. Thank you." Richard hung up. He stared out his office window at the city below. He had just taken the first step. But it was not enough. Not nearly enough. He needed to do more. He needed to be there. To meet his daughter properly. To somehow be part of their lives, but how? He could not just show up at their trailer and announce that he was Maya's father. The shock might kill Susan in her condition. And Maya would hate him. She would see him as the rich man who had abandoned them, who had let them suffer while he lived in luxury. No, Richard had to be smart about this. Patient. He had to let things develop naturally. He was already a judge on the competition Maya was in. That gave him a legitimate reason to interact with her, to get to know her, to earn her trust slowly, and maybe, if he was lucky, Susan would reach out to him first. Maybe she would see him on TV during the competition and realize they needed to talk. Maybe she would be willing to give him a chance to explain, to apologize. To make things right, Richard called his secretary. "Clear my schedule for the next 6 weeks. All of it." "Sir, you have meetings with the London office, the merger negotiations with..." "Cancel everything. Reschedule it. Delegate it. I do not care. The only thing I am doing for the next 6 weeks is judging the Stars of Tomorrow competition. Nothing else matters." "Yes, sir," his secretary said, clearly surprised. Richard never canceled meetings. He never put anything before business. But this was not business. This was family, and for the first time in his life, Richard understood what really mattered. The week passed quickly. Before Maya knew it, Friday had arrived again. The day of round 2. This time, Carlos drove her to the Civic Center in the afternoon. Maya stood on shaky legs. This was it. This was her moment. She walked to the side of the stage and waited for her cue. Marcus James walked to center stage. "Our next contestant is 17-year-old Maya Thompson. Maya is singing tonight to win money for her mother's medical treatment. Let's give her a warm welcome." The audience applauded. Maya walked onto the stage. The lights were blinding. She could not see the audience, just shapes in the darkness. She found her mark on the floor and stood there. The judges sat at their table. Richard Sterling leaned forward slightly, his eyes locked on Maya's face. There was something in his expression, something that looked almost like pain. "Hello, Maya," Jennifer said warmly. "How are you feeling tonight?" "Nervous," Maya admitted, "but ready." "We have chosen your slow song for tonight," Jennifer continued. "The folk ballad about the woman waiting for her lover. We thought your voice would be perfect for that kind of emotional storytelling." Maya nodded. That was the song she had hoped they would choose. It was the one she felt most connected to. The lights dimmed. The band began to play. The melody was haunting, with just acoustic guitar and soft strings. Maya closed her eyes and began to sing. The song told the story of a woman standing on a cliff watching the ocean, waiting for her lover's ship to return. She had been waiting for years, through storms and seasons, through hope and despair, but she never stopped believing he would come back to her. Maya poured everything into the performance. All her fear for her mother, all her loneliness growing up without a father, all her desperate hope that somehow things would be okay, that her mother would survive, that they would have a future. The last verse was the saddest. The woman finally saw a ship on the horizon, but as it got closer, she realized it was not his ship. It was a different ship carrying news of his death. He had died at sea. He would never return. Maya sang about the woman's broken heart, about her tears falling into the ocean, about how she kept waiting anyway, unable to accept the truth. The final note hung in the air, full of grief and longing. When the song ended, the auditorium was completely silent. Then the audience erupted. People stood up, applauding and cheering. Some were crying. Maya opened her eyes. She looked at the judges. Jennifer was wiping tears from her face. Marcus was shaking his head in amazement, and Richard Sterling was staring at her with an expression of such raw emotion that it took Maya's breath away. "Maya," Jennifer said, her voice thick with emotion, "that was one of the most beautiful performances I have ever witnessed. You did not just sing that song, you lived it. You made us all feel every word." "That was art," Marcus added. "Pure, honest art. You have a gift, young lady. A real gift." Richard cleared his throat. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "That was extraordinary. You have something that cannot be taught. Authenticity, heart, soul. Never lose that, Maya. No matter what happens in this competition or in your life, hold on to that gift." Maya felt tears run down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. She walked off the stage in a daze. The other contestants were staring at her. Some looked jealous. Others looked impressed. Sophia gave her a thumbs up and mouthed, "Amazing." Maya found a chair and sat down. Her legs were shaking. Her whole body was trembling. She had done it. She had given everything she had. Now she just had to wait and see if it was enough. The rest of the contestants performed. They were all good. Some were great, but Maya felt like she had connected with the audience in a way that was different, more real, more raw. When all 20 performances were complete, Marcus James took the stage again. "What an incredible night of talent," he said. "Our judges now have the difficult task of deciding which 10 contestants will move forward. They will deliberate for a few minutes and then we will announce the results. Please give them a round of applause for their hard work." The judges stood and walked backstage to a private room. Maya watched them go. Richard Sterling looked back once, his eyes finding hers in the crowd of contestants. Then he was gone. Maya sat and waited. The minutes felt like hours. Around her, contestants talked nervously. Some prayed. Some cried. The pressure was intense. Finally, after what felt like forever, the judges returned. They handed a list to Marcus James. Marcus looked at it and nodded. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to the audience, "we have our 10 contestants moving forward to round 3. When I call your name, please come stand on stage." He started reading names. Jake, the boy who had sung first. Sophia with the red hair. A girl named Amanda. A boy named Chris. One by one, the names were called. Contestants walked onto the stage, hugging each other, crying with relief. Maya held her breath. There were 2 spots left. Only 2. Our 9th contestant moving forward is Darren Mills, 1 spot left. Maya felt like she could not breathe. And our final contestant in round 3 is... The pause felt like it lasted forever. Maya Thompson. Maya gasped. She had made it. She had actually made it. She stood up on shaking legs and walked onto the stage. Sophia grabbed her hand and squeezed it. The audience cheered. 10 contestants stood on stage. 10 out of 20. Maya had beaten the odds. She was one step closer to the prize money. One step closer to saving her mother. She looked out at the judges. Richard Sterling was watching her. When their eyes met, he smiled. It was a small smile, sad and proud at the same time. Maya felt that strange sensation again. Like this man knew her somehow. Like there was a connection between them that she could not explain, but she pushed the thought away. It did not matter. All that mattered was that she had made it through another round. She was still in the competition. She still had a chance. After the show ended, Maya called Carlos from the lobby. "I made it," she said, crying and laughing at the same time. "I am through to round 3. I knew you would," Carlos said. "I never doubted you for a second. Get out here. I am taking you for ice cream to celebrate." "We cannot afford ice cream," Maya said. "I am buying. You just made it to the top 10 of a major singing competition. We are celebrating." They went to a small ice cream shop down the street. Maya got a single scoop of vanilla. It tasted like the best thing she had ever eaten. She could not remember the last time she had ice cream. "Maybe a year ago, maybe longer. Only 2 more rounds," Carlos said. "If you make it through round 3, you will be in the finals. And the finals only have 5 contestants. You could actually win this, Maya. You could really win." Maya wanted to believe him, but she also knew the competition was only going to get harder. The other 9 contestants were all incredible. Any one of them could win. She was just a girl from a trailer park who had never had any real training. She was lucky to have made it this far. But maybe luck was on her side. Maybe for once in her life things would work out. Maybe she would win that $50,000 and save her mother, and they could finally have a life without constant fear and struggle. Maybe miracles were real after all. When Maya got home that night, she rushed inside to tell her mother the good news. But when she opened the bedroom door, her heart stopped. Susan was lying in bed, her face twisted in pain. She was clutching her chest, gasping for air. The oxygen tube had fallen out of her nose. "Mama," Maya ran to her side. "What is wrong? What happened?" Susan could not answer. She could barely breathe. Maya grabbed her phone and dialed 911. "My mother needs an ambulance," Maya said, trying to keep her voice calm. "She has heart failure. She is having trouble breathing. Please hurry." The operator told Maya to stay on the line. Told her help was on the way. Maya held her mother's hand and tried not to panic. She put the oxygen tube back in Susan's nose. She stroked her mother's hair. She told her it would be okay. That help was coming. That everything would be all right, but Maya was terrified. More terrified than she had ever been in her life. The ambulance arrived 10 minutes later. Paramedics rushed in with equipment. They checked Susan's vital signs. They put her on a stretcher. They told Maya she could ride with them to the hospital. Maya sat in the ambulance holding her mother's hand. Susan's eyes were closed. Her breathing was rapid and shallow. The paramedic working on her looked worried. He kept checking monitors and adjusting things. He spoke into a radio using medical terms Maya did not understand. At the hospital, they rushed Susan into the emergency room. A nurse told Maya she had to wait outside. Maya stood in the hallway alone and scared. She called Carlos. He said he would come right away. Time passed slowly. Doctors and nurses rushed in and out of the room. No one would tell Maya anything. She sat in a plastic chair outside the emergency room door, her hands clasped together, praying. Carlos arrived 20 minutes later. He sat beside Maya and put his arm around her shoulders. "She will be okay," he said. "Your mom is strong." "I should have been watching her more closely," Maya said. Tears streamed down her face. "I was so focused on the competition. I should have been home taking care of her." "This is not your fault," Carlos said firmly. "You are doing everything you can. You are trying to save her life by winning that money. That is what she wants. That is what she needs." Finally, after an hour, a doctor came out. He was a young man with tired eyes. He looked at Maya. "Are you Susan Thompson's daughter?" "Yes, is she okay?" The doctor gestured for Maya to follow him to a quieter area. Carlos came too. The doctor's face was serious. The next 3 days passed in a blur. Maya spent every free moment at the hospital with her mother. Susan was stable but getting weaker. The doctors kept her on strong medications to help her heart keep beating. But everyone knew it was only a temporary solution. Without surgery, Susan would not last much longer. Maya tried to practice her songs for round 3, but her heart was not in it. How could she think about singing when her mother was dying? How could she focus on the competition when every minute counted? But Susan insisted. Every time Maya visited, Susan would ask her to sing, to practice, to prepare. "You have to keep going," Susan would say in her weak voice. "You have to finish what you started. Win or lose, you have to see it through. For me, please." So Maya practiced. She sang in the hospital room quietly so as not to disturb other patients. She sang in the trailer alone with her grief and fear. She sang at work during her breaks with Carlos listening and offering encouragement. The competition rules for round 3 were different. Each contestant had to sing a song that showed their range, something that would push them vocally and emotionally. Maya chose a gospel song she had heard at a church once. It was powerful and moving, full of hope and faith. She needed that hope now more than ever. Richard Sterling did not know that Maya knew the truth. He did not know that Susan had told her daughter who her father was, and Maya had not decided yet how to tell him. Should she confront him privately before the next performance? Should she wait until after? Should she write him a letter? Call his office? She did not know the right way to handle something like this. All she knew was that time was running out. Her mother was dying. And soon, very soon, Maya would have to face the man who had fathered her and tell him the truth. On Wednesday evening, 2 days before round 3, Maya's phone rang. It was a number she did not recognize. She almost did not answer. But something made her pick up. "Hello? Is this Maya Thompson?" A man's voice, formal and professional. "Yes, this is Maya. My name is David Chen. I am an attorney. I am calling regarding your mother, Susan Thompson." Maya's heart stopped. Had something happened? Was her mother worse? "Is she okay?" Maya asked, panic rising in her voice. "Oh yes, I am sorry to alarm you. Your mother is fine. I am calling with good news, actually. Very good news. A charitable foundation has agreed to cover the full cost of your mother's surgery." Maya felt like she had been hit by lightning. "What?" "A medical charity foundation reviewed your mother's case and approved her for emergency assistance. All costs for the surgery, hospital stay, medications, and follow-up care will be covered. The hospital has been notified and they are ready to schedule the surgery as soon as possible." Maya could not speak, could not breathe. This was not real. This could not be real. "Miss Thompson, are you there?" "Yes," Maya managed to say. "I am here. I do not understand. Which foundation? How did they know about my mother?" "The foundation prefers to remain anonymous," David said smoothly. "They review medical cases across the country and provide assistance to those in need. Your mother was selected because of the urgency of her situation. Something about this felt strange, too convenient, too perfectly timed. But Maya did not care. Her mother was going to get the surgery. That was all that mattered. "When can she have the surgery?" Maya asked. "The doctor would like to perform it tomorrow morning if you consent. Time is critical, as I understand it." Yes, of course, tomorrow, please." "Excellent. I will notify the hospital immediately. You should go see your mother and give your consent in person. The medical staff will explain everything." "Thank you," Maya said. Tears streamed down her face. "Thank you so much." When the call ended, Maya immediately called Carlos. "My mom is getting the surgery tomorrow. Some foundation is paying for everything." "That is amazing." Carlos shouted. "That is the best news ever." "Oh my God, Maya, your mom is going to be okay." "I know, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it is real." But as the initial shock wore off, Maya started to think more clearly. An anonymous foundation, perfect timing, right after she had learned the truth about her father. This was not a coincidence. This was Richard Sterling. It had to be, he knew. Somehow he knew who she was. And he had paid for the surgery without telling her. Without announcing himself. Without asking for anything in return. Maya did not know how to feel. She was grateful. Desperately grateful that her mother would survive. But she was also angry. Why had he done it anonymously? Why not tell her the truth? Why not talk to her face to face? Was he ashamed of her? Did he not want anyone to know he had a daughter? Or was he trying to help without interfering? Trying to do the right thing without forcing himself into their lives? Maya's emotions were a tangled mess, but there was no time to sort through them now. She had to get to the hospital. Had to see her mother. Had to sign the consent forms for surgery. She grabbed her jacket and ran out the door. At the hospital, the medical team was already preparing. A surgeon came to explain the procedure to Maya and Susan. It was risky, he said. Susan's heart was very weak. There was a chance she would not survive the surgery, but without it she would definitely die within days. So really they had no choice. Susan signed the consent forms with a shaky hand. She looked at Maya with tears in her eyes. "I'm going to be okay," she said. "I can feel it. God is giving us another chance." "I love you, Mama," Maya said, holding her mother's hand tight. "I love you so much. I love you too, baby. More than anything in this world. You are the best thing that ever happened to me." They took Susan into surgery early the next morning. Maya sat in the waiting room, her stomach in knots. Carlos had come to sit with her. He brought coffee and muffins, though Maya could not eat. She just sat there staring at the clock, praying. Hours passed. The surgery was taking longer than expected. Maya's anxiety grew with each passing minute. What if something went wrong? What if her mother did not make it? What if this was all for nothing? Finally, after 6 hours, the surgeon emerged. He looked exhausted, but he was smiling. "The surgery was successful," he said. "Your mother is in recovery. She is stable. The next 24 hours will be critical, but I am optimistic. She has a strong will to live." Maya collapsed in Carlos's arms, sobbing with relief. Her mother was going to be okay. After months of fear and suffering, Susan was going to survive. "Can I see her?" Maya asked. "She is still sedated from the anesthesia. But you can sit with her in recovery if you like." Maya followed the surgeon to the recovery room. Her mother lay in a bed surrounded by monitors and machines. She looked peaceful. The blue tint was gone from her lips. Her breathing was steady. She looked like she was simply sleeping. Maya sat beside the bed and took her mother's hand. "You did it, Mama," she whispered. "You fought so hard and you won. Now you can rest. You can heal. And when you wake up, we are going to have a whole new life. I promise." That night, Maya finally allowed herself to sleep. Really sleep. For the first time in months, she was not terrified that her mother would die. She was not consumed with worry about money and bills and impossible choices. Her mother was going to live. That was all that mattered. But Maya knew she still had to face Richard Sterling. Still had to tell him that she knew the truth. That she was his daughter. That she was grateful for what he had done, but also angry and confused and hurt. The next day was Friday. Round 3 of the competition. Maya had not practiced all week. She had been too focused on her mother's surgery. But she had to perform anyway. She had made it this far. She could not quit now. Besides, Susan would want her to finish. To see it through to the end. Maya arrived at the Civic Center in the afternoon. The other 9 contestants were already there, warming up and preparing. They all looked polished and ready. Maya felt exhausted and unprepared. But she was here. That was something. She went through sound check mechanically, sang her gospel song without emotion. The sound technician gave her a worried look but said nothing. Backstage, Maya sat alone in a corner. She did not talk to the other contestants, did not join in their nervous chatter. She just sat there thinking about her mother, about Richard Sterling, about everything that had happened in the past week. "Maya?" She looked up. Richard Sterling stood in front of her. He looked concerned. His eyes searched her face like he was trying to read her thoughts. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. "You seem distracted today." Maya stared at him. This man was her father who had been absent her entire life. Her father who had just saved her mother's life without asking for recognition or gratitude. "I am fine," Maya said. Her voice was cold. "Just tired?" Richard nodded slowly. "I heard about your mother's surgery. I am glad it was successful." How did he know about that? Unless he was the one who paid for it. Which confirmed what Maya already suspected. This man, this stranger, was the anonymous benefactor. "You paid for it," Maya said. It was not a question. Richard's expression did not change. "I do not know what you mean." "Yes, you do. The Anonymous Foundation. That was you. You paid for my mother's surgery." Richard looked at her for a long moment. Then he glanced around to make sure no one was listening. He sat down in the chair next to Maya. "Yes," he said quietly. "It was me." "Why?" "Because she needed help. Because I could help. Because—" He paused, seeming to struggle with his words. "Because it was the right thing to do." "That is not the whole truth," Maya said. She felt tears building in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You know who I am." "Do you not? You figured it out." Richard's face went pale. He looked down at his hands. Yes, I know. I recognized the song you sang at the first audition. The lullaby. I wrote that song 18 years ago. For your mother. I realized. I put the pieces together. And you said nothing, Maya said. Her voice shook with emotion. You just paid for the surgery and said nothing. Why? Because I did not know how to tell you, Richard said. His voice was raw with pain. Because I was afraid. Because I did not think I had the right to just walk into your life and claim to be your father, after 18 years of absence. You did not have a right, Maya said angrily. Where were you? Where were you when my mother was working 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads? Where were you when we had to choose between food and electricity? Where were you when I needed a father? Richard's eyes filled with tears. I did not know. Maya, I swear to you, I did not know you existed. If I had known, I would have been there. I would have done everything to be part of your life. My mother tried to find you, Maya said. She wrote letters. She called. You never responded. I never got them, Richard said desperately. I was in London. I was working 18-hour days. I had an assistant who screened everything. Your mother's letters must have been lost or returned. Her calls must have been blocked. I thought Susan had decided she did not want to be with me. I thought she had moved on. Maya wanted to believe him. But 18 years of absence was hard to forgive, even if it had been unintentional. You could have looked for her, Maya said. You had money, resources. You could have hired someone to find her. You are right, Richard said. His voice broke. I should have tried harder. I should not have given up. I was young and stupid and focused on my career. I made terrible choices, and I have regretted them every day since. But Maya, please believe me, if I had known about you, everything would have been different. Maya looked at this man, her father. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the regret, the pain. He was telling the truth. She could feel it, but that did not make the hurt go away. That did not erase the years of struggle and loneliness. I do not know what you want from me, Maya said quietly. I do not know how to have a father after all this time. I do not know if I even want one. I do not expect anything, Richard said. I just want you to know the truth. That I am here. That I am sorry. That I want to be part of your life if you will let me. But I understand if you cannot forgive me. I understand if you want nothing to do with me. Maya felt tears finally spill down her cheeks. You saved my mother's life. You did not have to do that. You could have just told me who you were and walked away. But you saved her? Why? Because she is the mother of my child, Richard said simply. Because I loved her once. Because she deserves to live. And because I knew it was the only way I could begin to make up for all the years I was not there. They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the competition continued. Contestants prepared. Staff rushed about. But in their small corner, time seemed to stand still. I need time, Maya said finally. I need time to process all of this. To figure out how I feel. To decide what I want. Take all the time you need, Richard said. I am not going anywhere. I promise you, Maya, I am not going to disappear again. Maya Thompson, 5 minutes until you are on stage, a production assistant called. Maya wiped her eyes. She had to perform. Had to get through this round. Then she could think about Richard Sterling and what having a father meant. Then she could figure out how to navigate this strange new reality. I have to go, she said, standing up. Maya, Richard said. He stood too. Whatever happens out there tonight, I want you to know I am proud of you. Not because you are talented, though you are incredibly talented, but because you are brave and strong and you have overcome so much. You are an amazing person, and I am honored to be your father even if I do not deserve to be. Maya felt her throat tighten. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Then she walked toward the stage. The performance that night was the hardest Maya had ever done. Her emotions were all over the place, but somehow that made the song more powerful. The gospel song was about faith and hope and believing that things would get better, even when everything seemed dark. Maya sang it with every ounce of emotion in her body. She sang about pain and struggle and the light at the end of the tunnel. She sang about her mother's survival, about finding her father, about all the complicated feelings swirling inside her. When she finished, the audience gave her a standing ovation. The judges looked moved. Jennifer was crying again. Marcus was nodding in appreciation. And Richard was watching her with an expression of pure love and pride. Maya walked off stage feeling drained. empty, but also somehow lighter. The truth was out. Her mother was going to survive. And she had a father. A real father who wanted to be part of her life. It was overwhelming, terrifying, but also, in a strange way, it was hopeful. At the end of the night, the judges announced which 5 contestants would move to the finals. Maya's name was called. She had made it. She was in the final round. Out of hundreds of contestants, she was now one of 5. One of 5 people with a chance to win the competition. But Maya realized she did not care about winning anymore. She did not need the prize money now. Her mother was safe. The surgery was paid for. Susan would recover and they would be okay. The competition had given her something more valuable than money. It had led her to her father. It had brought the truth to light. It had changed everything. After the show ended, Richard approached Maya one more time. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Not here. Somewhere private. You, me, and your mother. I think the 3 of us need to have a conversation." Maya thought about it. Then she nodded. "My mother is still in the hospital. She should be awake by now. We can go there." "I will drive you," Richard offered. They went together in Richard's expensive car. The drive was quiet. Neither of them knew what to say. There was too much to process. Too many years to catch up on. Too many emotions to name. At the hospital, they went up to Susan's room. A nurse told them Susan was awake and doing well. She was sitting up in bed eating some soup. When she saw Maya walk in with Richard Sterling, the spoon fell from her hand. "Richard," Susan whispered. The color drained from her face. "Oh my God, Richard." "Hello, Susan," Richard said softly. He walked slowly toward the bed, like he was afraid she might disappear if he moved too fast. "It has been a long time," Susan stared at him. Tears streamed down her face. 18 years. 18 years and you are here. In my hospital room. This is not real. This cannot be real." "It is real," Richard said. He stopped at the foot of her bed. "And I am so sorry, Susan. I am sorry for everything. For leaving. For not finding you. For missing so much of Maya's life. For all the pain I caused you." Susan shook her head. "I thought you did not want us. I thought you had moved on and forgotten about me." "Never," Richard said fiercely. "I never forgot you. I never stopped thinking about you. I just thought you had moved on. I thought you did not want me anymore." "I tried to find you," Susan said. "I wrote so many letters. I called your office so many times, I know. Maya told me. I never got your letters. My assistant must have screened them out. I am so sorry. If I had known about Maya, I would have come back. I would have been there for both of you." Susan looked at Maya, who stood silently by the door. "She knows?" "Yes, Mama, I know everything. Richard and I talked. We are trying to figure this out." Susan reached out her hand toward Richard. He moved closer and took it. They looked at each other, and Maya could see the love that had never died. Even after 18 years, even after all the pain and misunderstanding, they still loved each other. "We wasted so much time," Susan said sadly. "Then let us not waste any more," Richard said. "We have a second chance. All 3 of us. Let us not throw it away." Maya watched her parents. Her parents! It was strange to think of them that way. Strange but also right. This was her family. Broken and complicated and messy, but still family. "I do not know how to do this," Maya admitted. "I do not know how to be a daughter to you. I do not know how this works." Richard turned to her. "Neither do I. I have never been a father before. But we can figure it out together. We can take it slow. We can learn as we go. All I ask is that you give me a chance. Let me try to be the father I should have been from the beginning." Maya looked at her mother. Susan nodded encouragingly. "Give him a chance, baby. Give us all a chance to be a real family." Maya took a deep breath. This was scary. Opening her heart to this man who had been absent her whole life. Trusting that he would not leave again. Believing that things could be different. But she had been brave before. She had stood on that stage and sang in front of hundreds of people. She had fought to save her mother's life. She could be brave enough for this too. "Okay," Maya said. "We can try." Richard's face broke into a huge smile. He opened his arms. Maya hesitated for just a second. Then she walked forward and let her father hug her for the first time in her life. The finals of the Stars of Tomorrow competition were scheduled for 3 weeks later. In that time, everything in Maya's life changed. Susan recovered quickly from her surgery. The doctors were amazed at her progress. Within a week, she was out of the hospital and regaining her strength. Richard had arranged for her to stay at a comfortable recovery facility where she received the best care money could buy. Maya visited every day after school and work. Yes, Maya had gone back to school. Richard had insisted. He said education was important. Maya had dropped out to work full-time when her mother got sick, but now there was no need for that. Richard wanted to pay for everything, but Maya was stubborn. She agreed to accept help with the big things like housing and medical care, but she wanted to keep working at the diner. She wanted to finish the competition on her own merit. She needed to prove to herself that she was not just Richard Sterling's daughter. She was Maya Thompson, and she had earned her place in the finals through her own talent and hard work. Richard respected that. He was learning about his daughter, learning that she was proud and independent, that she did not want handouts, that she needed to accomplish things herself. It reminded him of himself when he was young. Before money and success had made things easy, they spent time together, awkward at first, dinners where they did not know what to talk about, walks in the park where silence felt heavy between them. But slowly, gradually, they began to connect. Richard told Maya stories about her mother when they were young, about the summer they had fallen in love, about the song he had written under the stars. Maya told Richard about growing up in the trailer, about taking care of her mother, about the fears and dreams she had never shared with anyone except Carlos, and Susan watched it happen with joy in her heart. Her daughter and the man she had loved were becoming family. It was more than she had ever dared to hope for. 2 weeks before the finals, Richard made a decision. He called a family meeting. He invited Susan and Maya to his house for dinner. It was the first time they had been to his home. Maya had expected something big and fancy, but she was not prepared for the mansion that greeted them. The house was enormous. 3 stories tall with more rooms than Maya could count. There was a pool in the backyard, a home theater, a music studio with equipment that made Maya's eyes go wide. Richard gave them a tour, looking slightly embarrassed by the excess. "It is too much for one person," he admitted. "I bought it years ago when I thought I needed to show the world how successful I was. But a big house does not mean anything if it is empty." They had dinner on the back patio. Richard had hired a chef to cook, but the meal felt comfortable, casual. They ate pasta and salad and talked about normal things: school, work, music, the competition. After dinner, Richard set down his fork and looked at Susan and Maya seriously. "I want to ask you both something," he said. "I have been thinking about it for weeks, and I think I know what I want. But it has to be your decision too. Both of you." Susan and Maya exchanged a glance. "What is it?" Susan asked. "I want you to move in here," Richard said. "With me, I want us to be a real family. I want to wake up every morning and have breakfast with my daughter. I want to help Maya with her homework. I want to watch movies with you both on weekends. I want all the normal family things I missed out on for 18 years. Maya felt her heart race. Move in with Richard? Leave the trailer? It was what she had dreamed about her whole life. A real house. A real family. No more worrying about money or struggling to get by, but it also felt scary. Too fast. Too much change at once. "I do not want to pressure you," Richard continued. "If you are not ready, I understand. We can take more time. But I wanted you to know that you have a home here. Always. Whenever you are ready." Susan reached across the table and took Richard's hand. "I think it is a wonderful idea," she said softly. "I have loved you for 18 years, Richard. Even when I was angry. Even when I thought you had abandoned us. I never stopped loving you. And if you will have me, I would like to try again. To see if we can make this work." Richard's eyes filled with tears. "I would like that too. I would like that more than anything." They both looked at Maya. It was her decision now. Her choice whether to take this leap of faith. Maya thought about the trailer. About the cramped rooms and thin walls. About all the memories there. Both good and bad. It had been her home for 17 years. Leaving it felt like leaving a part of herself behind. But she also thought about the future. About waking up in a house where she had her own room, where there was always enough food, where her mother would be safe and healthy, where she could have a real relationship with her father, where they could be a family. "Okay," Maya said. "Let us try it. Let us be a family." Richard stood up and walked around the table. He hugged Maya tight. Then he pulled Susan into the embrace too. The three of them stood there on the patio holding each other, crying happy tears. They were a family. Broken and rebuilt. Imperfect but real. And that was enough. Maya and Susan moved in the following week. Richard had prepared rooms for both of them. Susan's room was on the main floor, large and comfortable with a view of the garden. Maya's room was upstairs. It was bigger than the entire trailer had been. She had her own bathroom, a walk-in closet, a desk by the window where she could study. And best of all, Richard had set up a small recording space in the corner with a microphone and computer, so Maya could practice and record her music. Maya spent hours in that room just looking around, hardly believing it was real. This was her room, her space. She had never had privacy before, had never had a place that was just hers. Carlos came to visit and could not stop staring. "This is insane," he said, looking around the room. "You went from a trailer to a mansion. This is like a movie." "It feels like a movie," Maya admitted. "Sometimes I wake up and think I am dreaming. Are you happy?" Carlos asked seriously. "Really happy? Or is this all moving too fast?" Maya thought about it. "I'm happy. And yes, it is fast. Sometimes it is overwhelming. But I think it is right. I think this is where I am supposed to be." Carlos smiled. "Good, you deserve this. You and your mom both. You have been through so much. It is about time something good happened." The night before the finals, Maya could not sleep. She lay in her new bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. 3 months ago, she had been a girl working at a diner, desperate to save her mother's life. Now her mother was healthy. She had a father. She lived in a mansion. And tomorrow night she would compete for a prize that she no longer needed. It felt strange. The whole reason she had entered the competition was to win the money. But now the money did not matter. So why was she still competing? What was the point? Maya got out of bed and walked downstairs. She found Richard in his study working on his laptop even though it was past midnight. "Cannot sleep?" he asked when he saw her in the doorway. "No, too many thoughts." Richard closed his laptop. "Want to talk about it?" Maya came in and sat in the chair across from his desk. "I do not know why I am still in the competition. I do not need the prize money anymore. So what am I doing this for?" Richard leaned back in his chair. "Why did you start competing in the first place?" "To save my mom. To win the money." "Are you sure that was the only reason?" Maya frowned. "What do you mean?" "I think you also did it because you wanted to prove something to yourself," Richard said gently. "You wanted to know if you were good enough, if you were talented, if you could stand on a stage in front of thousands of people and make them feel something. That does not change just because the money is not an issue anymore." Maya realized he was right. She had spent her whole life feeling invisible, feeling like she did not matter, like she was just a poor girl from a trailer park that no one would ever notice or care about. But when she sang on that stage, people noticed. They listened. They felt something. She mattered. "I want to win," Maya said quietly. "Not for the money, but because I want to know I can do it. I want to prove that I belong there. That I am not just your daughter getting special treatment. That I earned my place through my own talent." "Then that is why you compete," Richard said. "For yourself. For your art. For the joy of singing. That is the best reason. The purest reason. Are you going to judge fairly tomorrow?" Maya asked. "Even though I am your daughter?" Richard looked at her seriously. "I am going to judge you exactly the same as everyone else. If you are the best performer tomorrow night, I will vote for you. If someone else is better, I will vote for them. Being my daughter does not give you an advantage in this competition. You have to win on your own merit." "Good," Maya said. "That is what I want." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Maya stood up. "I should try to get some sleep. Big day tomorrow." "Maya," Richard said as she reached the door, "whatever happens tomorrow, I am proud of you. Win or lose, you have already accomplished something incredible. You have inspired people. You have shown courage and heart. That matters more than any trophy or prize money." Maya smiled. "Thanks, Dad." It was the first time she had called him Dad. Richard's eyes filled with tears. "Good night, sweetheart." "Good night." Maya went back to her room. She began to sing the lullaby. Her voice was soft at first, just like the first time. She sang about moonlight and starlight, about love that lasts forever, The audience was completely silent, listening. Then Maya moved into the new verse, the one she and Richard had written together. She sang about lost time and found family, about fathers and daughters, about mothers who never give up, about love that survives even the longest separation. As she sang, Maya looked at the judges' table. At Richard, their eyes met, and she saw the tears streaming down his face. She saw the love, the pride, the joy. This was not just a performance anymore. This was her story. Their story. The story of a family that had been broken and was now healing. When the final note faded, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then the entire auditorium erupted. People leaped to their feet. The applause was deafening. People were crying, cheering. It was unlike anything Maya had ever experienced. She looked at the judges. Jennifer was sobbing openly. Marcus had his hand over his heart. And Richard was standing, applauding along with everyone else, tears running down his face. Maya took a bow and walked off stage. She felt like she was floating, like she had just lived the most important moment of her life. All 5 contestants were called back onto the stage. They stood in a line holding hands. The judges left to deliberate. The wait felt endless. Finally, they returned. Marcus James walked to center stage with an envelope. "What an incredible night of performances," he said. "Our judges had a very difficult decision to make. All 5 of these talented young people deserve to win, but there can only be one Stars of Tomorrow champion." He opened the envelope. Maya held her breath. "The winner of this year's Stars of Tomorrow competition and the recipient of the $50,000 grand prize is..." He paused for dramatic effect. "Maya Thompson!" Maya could not believe it, could not process it. She had won. She had actually won. Sophia hugged her. The other contestants congratulated her. The audience roared with approval. Maya walked to center stage in a daze. Marcus James handed her a large check and a trophy. She held them, hardly believing they were real. The judges came onto the stage. Jennifer hugged Maya tight. "You were phenomenal," she whispered. "You deserved this." Marcus shook her hand. "You got a real future in this business, kid. Do not forget us when you are famous." And then Richard stood in front of her. He did not hug her. Not in public. Not where people would question it. But he looked at her with so much love that Maya felt it like a physical warmth. "You were incredible," he said loud enough for the cameras to hear. Then more quietly, just for her, he added, "I am so proud of you, my daughter. So very proud." Maya smiled through her tears. "Thank you, Dad." After the show, there was a celebration backstage. Reporters wanted to interview Maya. People wanted to take pictures. It was overwhelming but exciting. Susan was there, healthy and glowing. She hugged Maya and cried happy tears. Carlos was there too, cheering the loudest of anyone. Later that night, after all the excitement had died down, the 3 of them, Maya, Susan, and Richard, sat in Richard's study. Maya held her trophy. Susan sat beside Richard on the couch, his arm around her shoulders. They looked like what they were. "A family. What are you going to do with the prize money?" Richard asked Maya. Maya had been thinking about that all night. She did not need the money for herself. Her father was rich. He would make sure she and Susan were taken care of. So she had decided on something else. "I want to start a foundation," Maya said, "to help other families like us. Families who cannot afford medical treatment. Kids who have to drop out of school to work. People who are struggling and do not have anyone to help them. I want to use this money to make a difference," Richard smiled. "That is a beautiful idea, and I will match whatever you donate. We will make it a real foundation, something that can help thousands of people." "I would like that," Maya said. Susan looked at her daughter with tears in her eyes. "When did you get so wise? When did you grow up so much?" "I learned from you, Mama," Maya said. "You taught me to be strong, to never give up, to care about others even when life is hard. Everything I am is because of you." They talked late into the night, about the future, about Maya's music career, about Susan and Richard maybe getting married again, about all the possibilities that lay ahead of them. 3 months later, Maya graduated from high school. She had worked hard to catch up on the classes she had missed. Richard attended the ceremony, sitting beside Susan, both of them beaming with pride as Maya walked across the stage to receive her diploma. Maya had been offered a recording contract by Richard's label, but she had decided to wait. She wanted to go to college first, to study music properly, to learn and grow as an artist. Richard supported her decision completely. He said the music business would still be there when she was ready. For now, she should just be a kid, experience life, have fun. The Maya Thompson Foundation officially launched that summer. It provided financial assistance for medical treatment to families in need. The first family they helped was a single mother with a sick son. Maya went to meet them personally. She told them her story. She let them know they were not alone. The foundation grew quickly. With Richard's connections and resources, they were able to help hundreds of families in the first year, thousands in the second. Maya worked with the foundation during her school breaks, always remembering where she had come from. Always grateful for the second chance she had been given, Susan and Richard did get married. It was a small ceremony in the garden of their home. Maya was the maid of honor. Carlos was there, of course. A few close friends. It was simple and beautiful. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Susan and Richard kissed like two people who had waited 18 years for that moment. Because they had, Maya recorded her first album 3 years later. She was 20 years old in college studying music and literature. The album was called Finding Home. It was full of songs about family and love and loss and hope. The lead single was The Lullaby, the one that had started everything, the one that had brought her father back into their lives. The album went platinum. Maya won awards, but she never forgot where she came from. She never forgot the trailer park, the struggles, the fear of losing her mother. All of those experiences had shaped her, made her who she was, and she was grateful for all of it, even the hard parts, because they had led her here, to this life, this family, this joy. On the anniversary of that first audition, Maya, Susan, and Richard sat together in the music studio in their home. Maya had just finished recording a new song. Richard listened with his eyes closed, a smile on his face. Susan watched her daughter with love shining in her eyes. When the song ended, they sat in comfortable silence. Then Maya said what she had been thinking all day. "Thank you." "For what?" Richard asked. "For everything. For paying for Mom's surgery. For giving us a home. For being my dad. For believing in me. For all of it." "You do not have to thank me," Richard said. "Being your father is the greatest gift I have ever received. You gave me a family. You gave me a reason to come home at night. You gave my life meaning. If anyone should be saying thank you, it is me." "How about we all just agree we are grateful for each other?" Susan said with a smile. "We are a family. That is all that matters." Maya looked at her parents. Her mother, who had fought so hard to keep them alive. Her father, who had come back when they needed him most. And herself, the girl who had found the courage to sing. They were not perfect. They still had challenges, still had moments of disagreement and difficulty. But they had each other. They had love. They had second chances. And that was everything. Maya picked up her guitar. "I wrote a new song. Want to hear it?" Susan and Richard nodded eagerly. Maya began to play. The melody was familiar but new. The lyrics were about gratitude, about finding light in the darkness, about families that are lost and found and rebuilt. As she sang, Maya realized this was what she had been searching for her whole life. Not fame, not money, not even success, just this feeling of belonging, of being loved, of being home. The song ended. Richard and Susan applauded. Maya smiled. And in that moment, everything was perfect. Not because their lives were without problems, but because they were together, because they were family, because they had found their way back to each other through music and courage and love. The lullaby that had once been a sad reminder of loss had become a celebration of reunion. The competition that had started as a desperate attempt to save a life had ended with saving a whole family. And the poor girl from the trailer park had discovered that she was never really poor at all. She had always been rich in the things that mattered most. Love, hope, family, home. And as the three of them sat together in that music studio, surrounded by instruments and memories and dreams for the future, they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as a family. As they were always meant to be, this was their happy ending. But it was also their beginning. The start of a new chapter, a new song, a new life built on the foundation of a love that had survived 18 years of separation and had come back stronger than ever. Maya looked at her parents and smiled. She picked up her guitar again. "One more song?" she asked. "Always," Richard said, and Maya began to play.